Official.
It's official.
Official. First off, I want to say S.A.F was amazing, per usual. I wouldn't have wanted anybody else to be the first chef on this show other than yourself. Obviously me, but I don't really count.
You count. You count.
But no, man, it's been a pleasure also to work with you for the last year before I left and before you. Been obviously a roller coaster from helping you open it up to staying there up until spring, I want to say.
Yeah, spring,
And
almost.
then you left.
Look like a month before you.
Yeah, you left a month before me, which I was like, damn, I'm probably leaving before him. You ended up leaving before me.
I beat you. I beat you,
Bro. But no, man. As a person such as yourself, where your background has come from, like being, if we're going to get a little bit personal, but I think that it's important to everybody know. In your late teens, early adulthood, so like being able to go from that to where you are now, I guess my first question would be, what would you say to somebody who is trying to adapt to society now, and what can they do for themselves to get acclimated and try to be a better person as a first step?
That's a wonderful question. I say the first thing is patience. I stressed myself out. I stressed myself out to the point I had ulcers. Like 3 weeks into coming home, where I was throwing up because when you're incarcerated, you have this plan of how it's gonna go and how fast it's gonna go, and what you're gonna get done, and it didn't go like that.
Yeah.
So you let life be life. So,
No, facts. 100%.
so you let you be patient. You stick the course. You be steadfast in your mission. I told myself it took really my daughter was like my daughter came at a year about. I found out I was having a daughter a year after I was here, and my daughter helped me with that. But she was my anchor to where when I got weak, it was like, hey, no, I have a reason. You find your reason and you keep doing what you said you was gonna do, and you weigh all the options because I think that's what a lot of young people. I can say that's what I didn't do. Was that, hey, looking at the pros and cons and probability. Hey, if I'm doing this, it's more probable that I end up like this.
Yeah.
So am I willing to pay that cost? And at this age and at where I'm at in life, certain things I just won't do because I'm not willing to pay the cost, Even if the probability is small, if that happened, I'm not willing to say, okay, I did this, I can live with this.
Yeah.
So, that was a lot of the reason for me to just change my life around, and just learn and read and grow and just be yourself, man. Like it took me a long time to just be myself, be who I am, and be comfortable with that. So
I think that's the most important thing. Is a lot of people don't look at it from a point of, well, I can't sit there and say from an incarcerated point of somebody who's coming out, but I do think from an authenticity point of like a lot of people are scared to be themselves and are scared to do what they want to do for themselves out of fear from their friends or family in terms of like what they may think of them or like the ideas or plans they have for themselves.
Or fear of failing.
Yeah, or even fear of failing. Like it's crazy because episode 1 goes into episode 2 of you can't be afraid to fail because that F word is gonna always happen. It's more so about how you overcome said thing and like you said, keep going.
That's how you grow.
Yeah.
Man, if you can you can look at it from one perspective. Like petty cash is supposed to be my last thing, right? The first restaurant I ever opened was supposed to be my best thing, and I failed. Like I was working 100 hours a week to
I was there. Yeah.
And so it's just like, hey, but it wasn't a failure because I learned so much, and I grew so much, and now so many more people know me. So you can look at it as, hey, you failed because the original mission was for this to be this restaurant and for this to be you to be an owner and for this to go like this, and it didn't go that way. But there's beauty in the struggle. And when you realize that, it's like, hey, no, I found all these things. I met all these people. I have all these situations now because of petty cash, or because of the first restaurant I ever opened when I was 23, you know, and I got my ass whooped every day. Like, my girlfriend's ready to leave me the first month, 3 months, because she didn't see me.
100%.
She's like, dude, like, we got this new baby. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You know? But when you have a mission, you know, she ended up not leaving. But
Yeah.
but when you have a mission and you know what you got to do, you just do it and sacrifice. That's another thing I tell the young people. Sacrifice. Sacrifice, man. If you really want something, you have to, like, everything costs something, right? Everything in life costs something, whether it's time, whether it's opportunity, whether it's money, everything costs something. There's nothing in life is for free. And that, it's cliche, but it's so true. And I found out, like, my 31 years of living, nothing in life is free. It might cost me as simple as friendship. You might do this simply because we're friends, but it costs that relationship.
It's a give and take somewhere.
It's a give and take somewhere. If I wasn't your friend, I couldn't pay this toll. So it's just like,
that's a great concept.
sacrifice is everything, man. Understanding, like, that's why you think about things before you do them. Understand what you got to sacrifice to get there. Understanding, hey, this is going to take this. Like, yeah, you want to be a whatever you are. When I was in my days of committing crimes, you want to be that? Okay, it's going to cost you these years of your life. It's going to cost you not going to prom, 16, 17, 18, 19, having a hard time. I had a hard time getting a job for years. It cost me so much more than I thought it would cost me. So I can't do that no more. I'm going to work.
Yeah.
I'm going home.
Yeah.
I don't want no problems. I'm going to work, going home. Because I know what it costs. It costs me to struggle, watching people die around me because I'm in here and people are living life, you know, watching people move on, watching, you know, all this stuff happen, and I can't control it.
Yeah.
So.
And I think, like, for me and my family, it's been a lot of, I ain't gonna say a lot, but a few people who I have had uncles who have been in incarceration or who have consistently been in halfway houses. So I've grown up understanding, like, it's hard to break that cycle in the sense of, like, once you've known 3 meals in the cot for so long and trying to like transition out of that.
You said meals because they're not always hot.
And like,
and
that's the thing. It's like I've learned that, like, even without me being in jail ever, but like having family members and being in that, or also hearing stories of, like, friends and family being in that, and it's not always easy. I feel like, in a sense, you found, I'm not gonna say beauty, but you found a way to transition from being in jail to having a life when you had to go through the culinary program, or you found a culinary program in jail, and it honestly, like, it helped you maneuver in a way where, like, a lot of people don't really have that. And I think jail, it doesn't necessarily prepare you for a life outside of it. It's just like, you do this time and that's just it. If there was ever a way to, like, really implement more ways to, like, people to go to school or even to get the help that they need, in a sense, I'm not gonna say facilitate, but to be able to transition into, like, going into society, like, okay, I did these things, or even got certifications to do certain things, and my life has changed to a point where I want to do better for myself, not only for myself, but for my family, the society I'm going to be into, or the community. These are the most important things that jail doesn't necessarily promote, in a sense. It's just, you do this, and when you went through the motions and not really understanding, okay, like, what is life outside of here? And like you said, like, you had a rough transition to going into, like, more restaurants and things like that. What was it for you? I'm not gonna say that. I want to say, yeah, that's what I want to say. So my bad. Going into that at 23 years old, your first restaurant you ever opened up, what was it that prepared you to get to that moment, in a sense, aside from your daughter and having to obviously provide for your family and things like that? What else was it for you, obviously sacrificing and what else, but, like, was there anything particular that got you to that step?
Perseverance. Understanding perseverance. Understanding that, man, it's gonna get hard regardless. Like, it's another thing taught me, being on both sides of the fence, or being good and bad, like having no business and having too much more than you can handle. Everything is hard. That's the thing. Being broke is hard. Having a bunch of contracts is hard. You got to pick your heart. Going to work every day is hard. Being a gangster is hard. I'm not saying I was a gangster, but just watching that, seeing that, them guys are paranoid. They don't know who to trust. They scared of the law. They're scared of people around them. Everything, once you understand that everything is hard, nothing is easy. Nothing is easy. So you got to pick your heart. You understand it's going to be hard regardless. Can you persevere? Can you stand the rain?
That's a good one. I like that.
And it just come down to, like, if you can stand the rain, you're going to have, just like life, man. Everything's an analogy for life some way or another. And it's like, when it rains, the sun is going to pop out and it's going to rain again. And it's going to snow and it's going to hail sometimes. But it's always the sun going to pop back out. As long as we breathing, the sun is going to always pop back out, even if the moment is small. I smiled in jail. Because, I had moments where the sun was shining, where I had beautiful moments, where I had learning, where I met beautiful people. But it don't mean it went to jail. It was hard as hell, Being in prison wasn't for the weak, but it was, but I had you'll have beautiful moments wherever you at. You understand that everything is hard, pick your heart. It's like, man, my heart is gonna be raising my family, going through life, being successful. Like, that's hard. You got people who don't have time for themselves just because they always doing something. That's okay. You just gotta pick what you want and go for it. And understand what come with it, understand what it costs as much as you can, because more understanding will come as time goes on and you learn more and you do more, man. This life stuff is short, man. We just gotta roll with it, do the best we can. I was working on it because I'm such a serious. I feel like most chefs are serious guys. Yeah. At least good chefs. Try to not to be so, smile a little bit because I'm so serious, try not to be so serious all the time. And just, live it.
Yeah. And you mentioned like picking your heart, and it's honestly crazy. It goes hand in hand with being a chef. For you, what was the hardest thing you had to deal with while being a chef? Was it, because for me, when I was cooking for 8 years, it was always missing the family gatherings, missing the important days and things like that. But everybody's different. So when you were a head chef at Petty, and I didn't even know what the first place was at 23, but what was it for you that was the hard thing? Was it like missing your family? Was it like not being there for your kid as much as you possibly could be? Was it more so like not getting sleep? Or was it the fact that you had to balance all of these, like, culmination of things to be able to stay sane? Because as a chef, everybody knows that, like, it's the glitz and glamours of having a business and having your own restaurant. It's like, oh, congratulations, like, you doing this. That's amazing. But like you said, as a chef, bro, there is no days off.
No rest for the wicked.
There's no, like, whenever you think you got a day off, there's no day off. You got a call coming in like, hey, such and such called off, whatever. And it's like, nobody else, if you ain't got nobody to cover it, it's gonna be you.
It's you.
So for you, I guess going back to my question, what was the hard for you when you were a head chef at, whether it was Petty or being at Maru or even being at Layla?
One was heavier than the other. I can name a few. Like you said, not seeing my daughter so much, not having like weekends and the regular things that people can do on a weekend, like not having that flexibility, not feeling like I could see the world so much. Like, COVID really slowed everything down. I seen so much of the world in 2 years. So that sacrificed time, honestly, time and relationships. Just the time you have to sacrifice to put into running a restaurant was like, the guys who get it down pat, these dope chefs who can take a week off and 2 weeks off where their restaurants still run properly. I wasn't at that point in my career. I'm not at that point right now. Those guys, they unlock the cheat code, and it's there because there's so many chefs that do it that run multi-million-dollar restaurants. I wasn't there, so I had to be in the building. So it was just like, hey, like, that part, the time, and just being able to just unwind, and even when I'm gone, not worrying about it, being like, it stresses it.
it's a lot.
Man,
I get it, man.
This. I think that's why, this industry has such a substance abuse problem,
Mm-hmm.
even for people who not running it and they just in the day to day, because we eat, breathe, and sleep stress
100%.
all day.
Mm-hmm.
Is this done? Was this done correctly? You got this chef. This is his food, and that a lot of times I was in that position. He's on my ass. He's, what are you doing? And I'm like, this got to be like this, and this got to be like that, and because it's one of them industries where it's no really any redos. There's no reset button. People have a bad meal. You get people like these so-called food bloggers will come to your restaurant, have one bad meal, and rip you a new asshole and kill half your income. You know what I mean? So that stress downhill from there. So it's just that that stress, man, and it's like
it's tough. And I being in the industry for so long, I understood it. That's why I had to get out, because I've done a lot, like cooking, help open up restaurants, also by having my own business in a sense. I was like, it's not really for me. And then now I am where I am now, where I'm actually able to, like, I enjoy cooking by doing this show. That is my outlet of my creativity. And I also found a way that I'm like, okay, I'm honestly decent at being able to interview people, which is like a really great outlet.
Really good, not decent, really good. Really good.
But no, man. So like, let's go to a happier time in a sense. I want to say earlier this year, you actually were interviewed for the Coldwater project. So for you, what was the greatest moment? And it was, if I'm not mistaken, was that like your first time ever being, aside from this time, actually being interviewed for something such an important thing? For people who don't know what the Coldwater project was, you can explain.
All right, so I say, Petty was first time because I did a lot of interviews with Petty. So the project was about a documentary where it was a chef, Chef Jimmy. Sorry, I forget his last name. My brain is foggy, but Chef Jimmy, he ran a cooking program like the one that I went through in prison. He actually knew the chef that ran my program, but he ran a program for 30 years, a culinary arts program where he got inmates, and inmates went through the program and they learned how to cook. It's like cooking school, and one of his inmates reached out to Mark Kurlianchik. Shout out to Mark, love Mark. At the time, Mark was the food guy for the Free Press. Reached out to him, and he came with this concept for a movie, the documentary, and followed Jimmy, and they followed 4 guys that were in his program, and their struggle, their day to day. One guy was a drug addict. One guy was, a couple of guys from Detroit. It showed like one of the guys got locked up, incarcerated. Dealer, got incarcerated. He showed these guys and showed where they were through the program, where they are today. Chef Dink opened his own restaurant at the Green Mile. I forget the other chef's name. One of the other chefs who was still incarcerated, he's on his way home. And it showed Chef Jim, he's like, and what he went through on the day to day, like, what he had to sacrifice, like his marriage and all this to run his program. And he gave so much, and people don't see it. I think that's not just a chef thing in general, but people who are greats, like he was an exemplary person and what he was able to do and how many people's lives he changed. He had to sacrifice and give so much, to do that. And it's like, man, people don't understand sometimes what greatness takes, It's something simple. They mind, like they don't understand it. Be good at certain shit. It's like, man, I gotta go to somewhere that most people are not comfortable going. They're not comfortable the depths of you not knowing when the darkness is gonna stop and when it's gonna get like, we've been in situations in restaurants, we 13, 14 hours deep cooking and we don't know when it's gonna stop. That mindset can go to all things. It can go to, like warriors, and I'm not comparing myself to an army guy, but just that mindset of,
mentality.
hey, I'm with that mentality of I'm going to do what it has to be done.
Yeah.
And everything feels big to the person that's going through it. Hey, you might look at it like, hey, it's not as serious as this, but when you going through it and you got to sacrifice and you losing your family, and you losing this, and you losing sleep, and you losing, peace of mind, just to be great, just to do the job. It's a different type of mentality. So it showed, what they had to go through. And those guys, like Chef Dean, coming back, opening a restaurant, open any business, nothing is easy, and show real life. People just want to make their way. And at the end of the day, man, we all humans. Something is important to all of us. We all trying to make our way. But everything is serious to the person that's going through it. And I had to tell myself that, like, yeah, I'm not a brain surgeon, but it's brain surgery to me. To the brain surgeon, saving people's lives, brain surgery, it's food, man. It's meals have, stopped wars, over a meal. Like, things are important to the person. So it's like, man, food, I've had people, I've people come up to us and say, man, you saved me today, man. Just having this meal is beautiful. You made me feel good about myself today. That power, the spirituality that comes with cooking, that's my anchor. It's like, man, I'm going to take it serious every time I do it because I never know what I'm affecting. Just throwing something in there. And those, I love working with the chefs who have that mentality where it's like, man, it's not as simple as I'm just frying some chicken, I'm just doing this. I'm feeding somebody.
Yeah.
Without this, they could die.
Yeah.
They didn't eat, they wouldn't be here no more.
No,
it's
facts.
important.
And I think like it's food is so intricate but simple, but it's the fact that the reason why I even do this show is because food is honestly a great conversation piece no matter where you go. It's the fact that we just did the S.A.F, and it's the fact that like you brought up grandma's cooking, and it's the fact that even if I have made something completely different, whether it's macaroni and cheese or even a fish dish, it's the fact that you can have the same flavors as somebody else's who lived in France, but they had your dish. And I was like, this reminds you of my auntie's dish when I was 8 years old, and I never even had this before, but it reminds you of this memory. And I think that's what makes food so beautiful, is that like you can, like you said, you can make somebody's day from just the simplicity of just giving them a meal. And it may not, and for you, it's like you put your love into it, but you was like, damn, man, it could have been great or it could have been better, but to that person, it was everything. And I think that it's important to always find those moments of like, it's beauty in the struggle, but it's also beauty in the simple things in life, and we have to be okay with that. So when you had the Coldwater project, what was it that, from the Coldwater project to where you were years ago when you were in jail, what could you have told yourself? If you would have known what you knew now, what was it you would have told yourself at that point where like, hey, look, it's gonna be okay?
That? It's gonna be all right, bro. Just keep moving, keep going, keep living, have an open heart. That's it. Because what I did. So what I did on that project is basically they had a movie premiere in Detroit, and I was everyone was assigned a person to cook for. So I interviewed Chef Dink. We just kicked it on the phone. I got Dink number right now. Cool dude. Like felt like an older version of myself. Just dude grew up in the city, grew in Detroit. So we kicked it. I was like, man, tell me. I just wanted to know his palate and what motivated him, what started him cooking. His grandma's cooking. So I made food. It's like, man, I didn't even eat pork, but I made some barbecue ribs and some cornbread, and I pickled some pickles, some old school Southern, just like grandma. And everyone did something that reflected the person that they interviewed, and that's what I did on that project. I just facilitated the premiere. I cooked for the premiere. My story. Again, big ups to Mark. I actually did an interview. I forget her name. Sorry, that wine got me.
It
I
happens,
forget
it
her
happens.
name, but I did an interview with a writer from the Free Press, and she actually put my story out there. So we had our PR person. Her name was B Brown from the B agency. Shout out to B Brown. She told me, he's like, man, you gotta stop being afraid of your story. Like, put it out there. Somebody might resonate with it, learn from it. She had that conversation with me 3 days before the Free Press called me. And we were doing the interview for Petty Cash, and they were like, hey, you guys, tell us about your story. And I started to give them the cookie cutter I started cooking here. And I was like, no, I thought about Brittany Brown. I was like, man, no, let me give them this. And we talked about it, and then from there, it got written up. And then Mark Karlianchik reached out to me. And I was like, hey, I didn't know you went through all that. Like, how do you feel about, being on the movie premiere for the Coldwater Project? And I was like, dude, I would love that. So that's how that went. That's how that was born, And I just, I just appreciate, Brittany Brown and just Mark and just the people in life, just hundreds of people in life who just might give you that small thing to make you just go to the next level. You don't even get it at the time. Yeah. You don't even understand that you need to hear that, and you hear it, and it takes you somewhere you need it to be.
No, and I think that's another important piece, because that's another big reason why I wanted you on the show, is because a lot of people don't know that there's grass on the other side of that wall when you don't think that you could ever come out of the dark situation where there's, I ain't gonna say that. There's sunlight on the other side of the tunnel when it's dark out. And I think that's the most important. Yeah, and your story is like a really big piece of like, hey man, like I've been there. And people may think that jail is the worst. It's worse things, but it's when you're at that age and you're like, bro, like, I don't know what's gonna happen in my life, because you feel like you've already lost so much at such an early age. So when you hear these stories of people who have went through these same things that somebody else is going through as of right now, and they're like, oh, like my life isn't over, or like this isn't the end. This isn't the end all be all. So I think that's the most important part, is that like your story is something that has to be broadcast. I remember months ago you told me the only thing I know is cooking, and I will only as much as you don't think you will be good at anything else other than cooking, this is all I know. Bro, you are an amazing person that could shed light on, I could honestly say, being a mentor. Like you've been, we around the same age, but like you mentored me in terms of like actually being able to like be more detailed and being more diligent with your work. But also for somebody of your age, you can mentor the young guys of being the spokesperson for how to get out of these situations, or even find a way for them to, like the Coldwater Project, is like find ways to get these people to come out of jail and transition to an easier life. It's not gonna be easy. It's gonna be difficult.
Nothing is easy.
But it's things like that you can do more with your voice than just cooking, man. Like we are all human, but like the one thing I have always told people is that like, bro, we limit ourselves too much to think that we can only do one thing and we are only good at one or two things. But bro, the thing is, you don't know what you could be good at until you try it. So like if it's anything you're gonna take away from this, is that I want you to be more of a speaker in terms of like where you come from, what you do, and what you want to do next, because those are the things that get people going into their future. Is they may end up coming in from a point where like, man, my life is over, I don't know. They run into Chef Dom and they like, hey, I'm getting up. Like they getting happy. They like, yo, like I've never thought that my life could be such a thing. Like I could never know I could start from here and get to this point. And people need to hear more of that, man. So like I'm telling you, bro, if you can be in some symposiums or like trying to get into more, I don't even know what to even say, more Coldwater projects, obviously, but like even starting your own thing of like being a spokesperson for people who have been incarcerated and transitioning and trying to make a better life for themselves, even if they don't think that's a way out. There's always a way. You gotta just direct them to where they gotta go.
So it's funny you say that. I actually have my first date in August, I'm going to one of the juvenile facilities that I was housed at for about a year. I reached out during the pandemic, something telling me like, man, I want to do this.
Yeah.
So I reached out to, COVID kind of slowed it up, but my first day speaking to incarcerated juveniles will be in August.
That's dope, man.
Yeah, man, I look forward to it, man. I don't get not easily excited, but I'm excited, man.
No, you should be. I think it's not even that, but like being that spark for the next generation, they got to hear that. And obviously, you're still in your 30s, man. You got a lot more time left on this earth for real.
Sure,
but you use that time, like you said, like life is short, bro. But use that time being a voice. Use that time being the spark in people's lives. Still cook and be great at that. But you also are great at being a motivator / mentor in terms of being able to lead people to a better spot than where they think they are. So I look forward to hearing from from what you do in the August juvenile correction facility, because I think that's super big, bro. I think that we need more people like you in this world who can tell these people that it's life outside these walls. You just don't know it yet. So, bro, I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you for having me, man. You know how we do.
I love you, man.
Love you too, brother.
That's episode 2, man. S.A.F.
Sexy ass fish.